Hello everybody and welcome back to the Rhinip channel. For today's episode of this series where I'll be talking about some of my stories, we are in my Funko studio. Now of course if you watch my main channel, Mark45 Studios, then you will surely understand this is my laboratory, this is my lair, this is where I thrive in my Funko Pops. But obviously on this channel we aren't exactly talking about the stuff I usually do. Whereas here we are actually sharing some stuff about me, about my stories. And of course, last episode I said I would be showing off my entire Hero Factory line here from LEGO, which of course I kind of explained. I gave a little bit of background context to Hero Factory and the reason why it was so significant to me. And today, as we show off these figures, I will be diving a little bit more deep into it. In the duration Hero Factory has lasted, LEGO has put out quite the number of figures. So I can't spend forever on this video, so we'll be going over each figure relatively quickly, and I won't be going into too much details. So you could pause the video at any given point to take a look at a figure specifically to see, just check it out, see what's about it, and that's pretty much it. So, let's get started with the very first wave of heroes that LEGO has created for Hero Factory when it first launched in 2010. This was the year it came out, and this was my year of getting into kindergarten. By this time, I still had no idea what Hero Factory was. I don't think I ever paid attention to these. I really thought these were just some random Bionicles sitting on the shelves of stores. But these figures were acquired in 2020. I got these 10 years later after their original release. These figures are each quite expensive. When I picked these guys up, they're worth around it depended on the seller. But I think I spent over $3,000 on getting all the figures back. It's not cheap. So this was the first wave, and this is when LEGO was still new to Hero Factory. What does that mean? That means that they still use some of the original Bionicle pieces. This was before the CCBS building system was introduced, which changed the phase of LEGO buildable action figures. So, these original 6 heroes, including some bonus sets, and of course I will show you the villains that were in this season right after. But we're going to show you the heroes first. And these heroes were all basic builds. They came in these canisters and they have very minimalistic pieces because of course they still use some of the original Bionicle pieces. So these are old. They're extremely fragile and it could snap easily. And that was one of the biggest problems of these pieces, which is why they switched to building system. So, figure number 1. His name is William Furno. This character is the phase of Hero Factory. You'll see him on the front cover art of the franchise. He is the fresh new hero that was created for Hero Factory. And this character, Preston Stormer, was the original team leader of this hero squad. But this kid is new, and he seems to be the new successor to Stormer. And they have their banter at first, but eventually they make things work by Furno respecting Stormer as a team, as a comrade, and Stormer, as a team leader, thought less of himself and gave Furno more of a chance. So, Furno has very minimalistic pieces, as you can see, and his weapon of choice here is this orange flame sword thing, and I don't know what is the best way to explain it, but that's William Furno. And of course followed up by the team leader Preston Stormer. As you can see by his color scheme, he has this ice weapon, which is very exclusive and can only be used by him. This piece is very unique, you will never find it anywhere else, and it's quite special. And yeah, he is the team leader. He is one of the veterans of Hero Factory. Then we have more veterans. These 2 characters are veterans. This guy is called Jimmy Stringer, or we usually call these heroes by the last name, so this would be Stringer. He is a sound-based hero, so his weapon here is a sound sonic blaster, as you can see right here. And he is one of the veterans, right next to Stormer. So he is more experienced, he's more wise as well, and of course he has a very cool orange and black color scheme, which he will later change as the seasons progress. Then, we have two of pretty much the same character. We have Bulk. This is Duncan Bulk, is his first name. And he is also one of the veteran heroes alongside Furno and Stormer. And he is like he is like the brute force. He is the muscle of the team. So his weapon here is like a little earth shooter. It's like a little pistol, so it's not as strong as a weapon compared to the other characters. But he's also more experienced. He's also one of the most quietest ones. He's one of the more wiser. But when he gets in a fight, he will put up a fight because he is a brute force. And I'm showing this now because there are actually two versions of this character that was made. So this is the standard figure that you would get from your standard hero sets. However, there was another set that they made, which is this one, which is Bulk in this scuba diving suit. As you can see, it comes with an additional scuba diving gear at the back, and he's got breathing tubes on, and he's swapped his weapon. I guess he's borrowing Stringer's Sonic Blaster weapon, his exact same piece. And the reason this figure existed is because he was in this set with another villain called Vapor. It was Vapor, I think that was his name. So it was like a hero versus villain set. So it was this guy pitched up against the villain named Vapor, which of course I will show off momentarily. This character is a female hero, which is great. Good on LEGO for implementing a feminine character, which is good because, you know, we need to have a little bit of balance. She is called Natalie Breeze, or Breeze for short. So she is like a nature-like character. She can communicate with animals and other creatures alike. And the weapons she carries here are like these boomerangs. These are called boomerangs. She is one of the rookies. She is one of the new heroes created alongside Furno. So she is new to the hero game. But later on, she gets into the game, and I think she follows Furno more than following Stormer. So it's nice to see LEGO actually create a feminine hero character here, which is very, very nice. And then we have one of the most significant hero characters of my time. This is Mark Surge. He is a lightning-based hero, and as you can see, his weapons here have lightning bolts. There are these lightning sword thingies, lightning blasters, call it if you will. Why is this character so important to me? This character holds important significance because this character got me hooked into Hero Factory. But most importantly, this character prompted me into creating the name Mark 45. As you might have heard or you might have missed it, I said this character's first name was Mark Surge. Mark Surge. Surge is his last name. So, this was my favorite hero character when the franchise came out. When I watched the Hero Factory shows and collected the figures, this guy was numero uno on the list. And I just took the first name, Mark, and implemented it to my username as like my alternate social media tag name, and of course my YouTube channel is then created off that energy. The 45 is a different story, but this character means a lot because this is how I started my YouTube channel, because of this guy. So that is all the 6 standard hero characters. However, they also made several vehicle sets. These were additional bonus sets, if you will. Starting off with the Furno bike. So this is the William Furno hero character, which is actually a slightly different change. As you can see, his arms and his legs are using this yellowish color piece, but then for this bike set here, the figure that they provide is completely red on both the arms and the legs. And this is really cool because they kind of built like a large bike, very different from your Lego City motorbikes, and they slapped a hero on it. And yeah, which is pretty cool. So it does come with a kickstand. It comes with a kickstand right here, which you can fold back easily, and it has these little shooters that shoots these balls. So it was really cool when you first get this because it does, of course, rotate, and it actually acts like an actual motorcycle would, so which is very, very nice. This was a set I did not expect that LEGO would do, but it was pretty cool that they're adding some vehicles for variety. And finally, the last bonus vehicle sets that they made is this thing called the Dropship. Now, this would be the standard transport ship the heroes would use to travel around to, you know, confront villains. But obviously, if LEGO made a life-size dropship that was able to fit multiple hero characters, this would be a pretty big model, and the set would be quite expensive. So they downsized it to like a little small personal cargo ship with one character to control it. This is no ordinary hero, it's just some random guy in a unique helmet and all that. But the point of this is, you know, it's just a carry cargo. So there's this play feature here, which if you pull the trigger right here, you can see the arm folds down like this, and it starts clapping a lot of dust. Holy yeah, but the point of that is it clamps down, and what it does is it's supposed to pick up cargo or maybe like capturing some villains. This ship can just hold them in place. You know, it's a really cool, unique play feature. This vehicle was definitely expensive compared to the other hero sets, but being built completely out of parts you would see on LEGO Mindstorms, I think it's pretty cool. So, that is all the good guy sets, if you will. Sure, they've made the heroes, but they've had some vehicles to add alongside it as well. Now, to end off this video, and the first part, you know, as I will be going through multiple heroes, so which we will need to make multiple videos on, I will now take a look at the supervillains that were made in this season, this first season. So, let's cut right to it. Alright, welcome back. It's another day that I'm filming this. And fortunately, I think I caught a little cold, so my voice is a little bit dead. I do apologize for that. I will try my best. However, if things get too worse, I might need to skip next week's video and post 2 videos the week after, but we'll have to see. But right now, we are going to talk about the villains. The villains in this season. So there's several villains that have been made, quite a large ensemble to fight against, I think it was 6 heroes, so that was, yeah, no, it's crazy, the amount of villains they got here. But the point is, these villains kind of test out the Bionicle system, the Bionicle build system, and the reason they still use these, I mean, they actually did it in some pretty smart ways, and I'm not gonna lie. There are some pieces that still lived on as the building system changed, but these were like the test run villains, and I gotta say they were not bad at all. So I'm just gonna start off by looking at this one. This guy with this green whip piece, his name is Meltdown, and the origin of this character is like he's like this toxic villain that if you get hit by the whip, there's like a venom that takes over you and kind of it poisons you. So he's a pretty dangerous character. As you can see, he's got like these poison tubes on his shoulders, and he does. And of course, all these villains, except for the main big bad, they all have a shooter. This is like a ball shooter, which you press it together, it fires the ball that's sitting within. I'm not going to do that because I don't want to catch the ball. But yeah, no, so he has one here, and he also has this whip. And I think this is what makes Meltdown such a dangerous villain, because once you get hit by that whip, you are under his control, pretty much. So, very nice build, very simplistic pieces. I will say, they were pretty creative with the head. The head had a pretty good design, and I think they nailed it overall, so not a bad villain. Then, on the topic of toxic villains, let's look at this one. This one's name is called Corroder, and he is, he is a walking toxic tank. The main 2 claws he has at the front, these are huge toxic shooters. They spit out an ungodly amounts of venom, which of course can kill you. And his little shooter is just stuck to the shoulder, so I guess he doesn't even carry that shooter around. He just shoot it at his own will from his shoulders. His head design here kind of looks like a rhinoceros design if you think about it, which I think is a little bit questionable, but overall I think it's not too bad at all. At least they went the extra mile and actually covered his back with another of those claw pieces, which is pretty nice. So yeah, another very toxic villain, Corroder. Then we have Vapor. Vapor is a villain that actually didn't show up in the TV series. We only got this toy, this figure of him, this Lego figure of him. And of course, with the name, he is like this water villain. He combats underwater, so I guess he's full of these breathing tubes, as you can see from the back. And he also has a shooter, which is also like a knife. So it's kind of like a close combatant weapon, but he has 2 shooters, so he can really wreak some serious havoc if he wants to. But so no, he is a very basic build as well. I do like the orange seems kind of odd though to contradict the blue, or I think that's just my personal opinion. But overall, I think this one is the weakest compared to all the villains we have here. Then we have this guy. His name is called Thunderbolt or Thunder. I think it's just Thunder. I don't exactly remember. He's very basic. I'm not really too big of a fan of this character anyways. He has this weird claw thing, just giant claw that he just uses to pick up characters, pick up heroes, if you will. And he's got this shooter, of course, the classic. And yeah, so it's not bad at all. Definitely not bad at all. But I do think this, in terms of overall design, this character also seems pretty weak. So I'm not the biggest fan of this one for sure. And then we have this one. I think this one was the very first villain that showed up in the TV series. This character's name is called Explode. Literally, Explode, but minus the E. So you spell it with an X, so Explode. And yeah, no, the name says what he is. He is a walking explosive character. The spikes here are supposed to shoot out explosive dynamite. His gun here is probably an explosive shooter. And he is one of the only, he's one of the few villains that carry a melee weapon. This is like a knife, an axe, and sword. Not exactly sure what this is, but yeah, no, he's one of the more deadliest villains. Him and Meltdown are probably one of the more deadly villains, because this guy, even if you disarm him, he is still a weapon himself, so he can kill you by just being him. And then we have one of the bigger villains. This guy's name is Rotor, and literally he is a robot with a giant helicopter rotor, hence the name. So you lift this up, as you can see, there's a little feature. You lift this up, you spin the rotor, and off he goes. He's flying like he's suspended in the air. So this is one of the more creative villains, I gotta say. And you will notice he shares a very similar head mold. In fact, it is literally the exact same head sculpt as Vapor, but of course this guy has a orange color scheme instead. And he's a little bit more complicated simply because LEGO hasn't exactly figured out how to make heavy characters stand up. So they did this like double like piston-like suspended leg, so I guess that's the one way to keep the figure steady. But this figure, of course, was a little bit more expensive, hence he has more pieces and it's a little bigger, but overall, I think they did a pretty good job with this one as well. One of my favorites. And finally, but definitely not the least, this is the big bad. This is the main villain. He is the leader of all this gang, all these villains. Fun fact, he is actually voiced by Mark Hamill. This character is voiced by Luke Skywalker. Maybe some of you didn't know that. Well, now you do. So, yeah, he is voiced by Mark Hamill. You probably won't pick up his voice at first, but if you watch Mark Hamill's like Joker, his voice acting work as the Joker, then you can see a very close resemblance to this character, whose name is called Von Nebula. So the Nebula Star Nebula, and then Von, V-O-N at the beginning. So Von Nebula, that's his name. So yeah, he is the big bad, and of course he has a bigger size. That's why he has the double piston-like legs again. And he is the big bad because he carries this staff, and this staff is like a portal staff, which opens, vortexes and black holes. So yeah, he's got a very powerful weapon, which he can use to do some serious damage to the heroes. So that is the main villain, Von Nebula, and that is all the villains from the very first season of LEGO Hero Factory. So I hope you guys have some intriguement in this, and of course next episode we'll be looking at the second season 2 of Hero Factory, which they completely shifted the building system. So that's it for this one. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye for now, everybody.